Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a heart attack. Globally, it's one of the leading causes of death year after year, decade after decade. Most people have heard the term 1,000 times. Most people think they know what it means, and most people are wrong. The most common assumption: a heart attack means your heart suddenly stops beating. It doesn't. What's actually happening is something more gradual, more silent, and in many cases more preventable than people realize. A war playing out inside your arteries, sometimes for years before you feel a single symptom. Understanding what a heart attack actually is at a biological level could one day be the difference between life and death, yours or someone you love. Meet Robert. Robert is 52 years old. He manages a mid-sized logistics company, works long hours, and hasn't seen his doctor in 3 years. He isn't what most people picture when they think heart attack patient. He's not dramatically overweight. He doesn't smoke. He's just out busy, stressed. Getting older, one Tuesday afternoon, after climbing 2 flights of stairs to a meeting, Robert notices something unusual. A tightness in the center of his chest. Not painful, exactly. More like pressure. Like someone placed a hand flat against his sternum and pushed gently but firmly. He loosens his collar. Takes a slow breath. By the time he sits down, it's mostly gone. Probably just indigestion, he thinks. Maybe I ate lunch too fast. He doesn't mention it to anyone. An hour later, during the meeting, the pressure returns. This time, it spreads down his left arm. A dull, aching heaviness that he can't quite explain. It doesn't. What Robert doesn't know, what no one in that conference room knows, is that inside his heart, a crisis has already begun. He shifts in his seat, rolls his shoulder, checks his phone as if the distraction might make it stop. It doesn't. What Robert doesn't know, what no one in that conference room knows, is that inside his heart, a crisis has already begun. To understand what's happening to Robert, you first need to understand something that surprises a lot of people. The heart is a muscle. And like every muscle in your body, it needs a constant supply of oxygen-rich blood to function. The heart pumps blood to your lungs, your brain, your organs, but it also needs blood delivered to itself. That job belongs to the coronary arteries. There are 2 main coronary arteries, the left and the right, that wrap around the surface of the heart like a network of supply lines, branching into smaller and smaller vessels that reach deep into the heart muscle itself. Think of the heart like a city's power plant. The power plant keeps the entire city running. But even the power plant needs fuel delivered to keep its own engines going. The coronary arteries are that fuel line, the private supply system that keeps the most important organ in your body operational. As long as blood flows freely through those arteries, the heart muscle gets the oxygen it needs, it contracts, it relaxes. It beats, reliably, rhythmically, roughly 100,000 times every single day. But what happens when that supply line gets blocked? That's where the story begins to change. This part of the story doesn't start the day of the heart attack, it often starts decades earlier. Inside your arteries, the inner walls are lined with a thin layer of cells called the endothelium. In a healthy artery, this lining is smooth and flexible, allowing blood to flow through without resistance. But over time, through a combination of high cholesterol, high blood pressure, smoking, inflammation, and other risk factors, that lining can become damaged. When damage occurs, LDL cholesterol, the type commonly called bad cholesterol, begins to penetrate the arterial wall and accumulate beneath the surface. The immune system responds by sending white blood cells to deal with the buildup. But instead of clearing it, those cells get trapped, absorbing the cholesterol and forming what are called foam cells. Over time, this collection of cholesterol, immune cells, and cellular debris hardens into a deposit. This is called plaque. Plaque doesn't form overnight. It builds slowly over years, sometimes decades, gradually narrowing the interior of the artery and reducing how much blood can pass through. At this stage, a person might experience chest discomfort during exercise, a condition called angina because the heart is working harder but receiving less oxygen, or they might feel nothing at all. For years, Robert felt nothing, until Tuesday. Here's the moment everything changes. Not all plaque is equally dangerous. Some deposits are stable, hard, calcified, slow to grow. Others are softer and more volatile, covered by a thin fibrous cap that holds everything underneath in place. Under certain conditions, a sudden spike in blood pressure, an inflammatory response, intense physical or emotional stress, that cap can rupture. The moment the plaque ruptures, the body responds the way it always does to any injury. It tries to form a clot to seal the wound. Platelets rush to the site, clotting proteins activate. Within minutes, a blood clot begins to form directly over the ruptured plaque. And here is the critical problem: the artery is already narrowed. The clot that forms to repair the rupture can be large enough to block what little space remains, partially or completely cutting off blood flow through the vessel. Think of a highway that's already down to one lane due to construction. Now imagine a car breaks down directly in that lane, blocking it entirely. Everything behind it stops. That is what's happening inside Robert's coronary artery right now. The blood that should be delivering oxygen to his heart muscle has nowhere to go. The medical term for a heart attack is a myocardial infarction. Myocardial, relating to the heart muscle; infarction, tissue death due to lack of blood supply. And this is where the true danger lies. The moment blood flow is cut off, the heart muscle cells downstream of the blockage begin to starve. Within the first few minutes, heart muscle cells begin to experience oxygen deprivation. They shift to emergency metabolic processes, but these are inefficient. They cannot sustain the tissue for long. Within 20 to 40 minutes, if blood flow hasn't been restored, cells begin to die. Not all at once, but progressively, in a widening zone around the blockage. This process is called infarction. Within 1 to 2 hours, significant, potentially permanent muscle damage can occur. The heart's ability to pump efficiently is now directly threatened. Beyond 2 to 3 hours, the damage compounds, larger areas of muscle may die. The risk of complications, dangerous heart rhythms, heart failure, cardiac arrest rises sharply. Dead heart muscle does not regenerate. Once it's gone, it's replaced by scar tissue, and scar tissue cannot contract. It cannot contribute to the beating of the heart. Whatever function is lost in those early minutes and hours may be lost permanently. This is why cardiologists have a phrase they return to again and again. Time is muscle. Every minute without treatment is more muscle lost. Back to Robert, the pressure in his chest is no longer something he can explain away. It's heavier now, more persistent, and something new has appeared, a strange discomfort climbing up into his jaw, as if he's been clenching his teeth for hours. He's also beginning to sweat, not from the heat, but a cold, clammy kind of perspiration that appears for no obvious reason. These are not coincidences. These are the symptoms of a heart attack, and understanding them could be the difference between acting in time and waiting too long. The most common symptom is chest pain or pressure, often described not as sharp pain, but as a squeezing, heaviness, or tightness in the center or left side of the chest. Pain radiating to the arm, shoulder, neck, jaw, or back because the nerves serving the heart share pathways with nerves in these areas. The brain can misread the source of the signal. Shortness of breath, even at rest or with minimal exertion. Cold sweats, sudden, unexplained perspiration. Nausea or lightheadedness, particularly common and frequently dismissed as something minor. And here is something critically important. Symptoms don't always look the same in everyone. While chest pressure is the most recognized sign, many people, particularly women, experience heart attacks without classic chest pain. Instead, they may feel extreme fatigue, nausea, back pain, or jaw discomfort with little or no chest involvement. Heart attacks don't always announce themselves dramatically. Sometimes they whisper. and far too many people mistake that whisper for something ordinary. When someone arrives at a hospital with a suspected heart attack, every action is timed. The goal, internationally standardized, is to restore blood flow within 90 minutes of hospital arrival. The primary treatment is a procedure called a percutaneous coronary intervention, more commonly known as an angioplasty. A thin, flexible tube called a catheter is guided through a blood vessel, usually in the wrist or groin, and navigated up into the blocked coronary artery. At the tip of the catheter is a small balloon. When it reaches the site of the clot, the balloon is inflated, compressing the blockage and reopening the artery. In most cases, a small mesh tube called a stent is then placed inside the artery to hold it open and prevent it from collapsing again. Blood flow is restored. And with every minute that blood flow is restored sooner, more muscle is saved. The math is brutally simple. A patient treated within 1 hour of symptom onset may lose very little heart muscle. A patient treated at 3 hours may lose significantly more. A patient who waits, who dismisses the symptoms, convinces themselves it will pass, drives themselves to the hospital instead of calling emergency services, may arrive with damage that could have been prevented. Robert called an ambulance. He reached the hospital in time. Not everyone does. The most heartbreaking part of treating heart attacks isn't the medical complexity. It's the delay. Study after study shows that a significant number of people experiencing a heart attack wait, sometimes for hours, before seeking help. They tell themselves it's probably nothing. They don't want to cause a scene. They're worried about being wrong, about overreacting, about the inconvenience. They dismiss the pressure in their chest because they're at a work meeting, because they have to pick the kids up, because it's not bad enough, and in that window of time, while they wait and rationalize, heart muscle that could have been saved is dying. If you ever feel symptoms that match what we've described today, don't wait for certainty. The cost of being wrong about going to the hospital is embarrassment. The cost of being wrong about staying home is something no one should have to pay. A heart attack is not the heart stopping. It is heart muscle slowly dying, starved of oxygen because a blocked artery can no longer deliver what the body's most vital organ needs to survive. It begins, often silently, with years of plaque building inside coronary arteries. It accelerates in a single moment when that plaque ruptures and a clot forms. And it unfolds minute by minute as oxygen-deprived muscle cells begin to fail. But here is what makes this different from so many other medical emergencies. It is, in many cases, interruption that is possible if the signs are recognized and if action is taken fast enough. The 10 minutes after you recognize a symptom and call for help. They may be the most important 10 minutes of your life. Understanding what's happening inside your body, at a level most people never learn, is exactly what MedSimplified is built for. If this video gave you something you didn't have before, share it with someone who might need it. It might matter more than you think. Subscribe to MedSimplified, where medicine meets simplicity. We'll see you in the next one. MedSimplified, where medicine meets simplicity.